Right, so here we are with episode 22, and we're going to have to disappoint our one fan because we're preempting his requested top 5. We'll get to it, and we'll get to it soon. We'll get to it soon. We got some things we want to cover here. First off, I want to know who in God's name lives near Winona, Minnesota, and Winona, Minnesota, and has come and visited us 13 times and not said a goddamn thing.
Minnesota.
You think that's fair, Rev?
Well, I mean, free speech allows us to not speak, so theoretically it's fair.
Well,
but it's sad. I mean, you must have a comment by now.
Yeah, tell us to fuck off. Tell us we suck. Something. Anything.
If this is the 13th time, fuck off is probably not the first choice.
Well, that's something. And Houston? Who came by twice from Houston?
Neil Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong? I could deal with Neil Armstrong hanging around on the podcast, and I know Colleen, Texas is my sister, so she don't fucking count. I know she'll appreciate that, though. But the really interesting thing here is Viana do Castelo, Portugal.
How many times have they been by?
Just once, or as the Italians would say, Portuguese.
Why would they say that?
Because that's the way they say it. Yes. Rochester, Minnesota. Who the hell's in there?
Jack.
I'll bet
Benny.
It's St. John. If St. John is listening and he hasn't left a comment, hasn't mailed us, we now hate him. After 15 years of budness, we hate him.
What's a St. John?
St. John is my buddy John Celeste from Korea. Yeah. Long Beach, New York. Probably don't care about them. Windsor, Connecticut. Could be any goddamn buddy. Rockland, California. I'd like to know who that is. If we got Cali people, the kitten is killing the house again.
What can you say? The cat's got personality.
Yeah, there's something to it anyway. There's somebody in Fort Worth, somebody in Hesperia, California, and probably the most oddball and remote name, Blue Bell, Pennsylvania.
Dutch country.
Maybe. It could be. Or it could be outside Pittsburgh. Who knows?
Amish with Wi-Fi.
Oh, that could be. But, yeah, one of you guys, say something. Okay? That's great. Now, the big news of the day, I'm sure that most people will know, is that Disney, of all companies, has purchased Marvel. What the hell is going to happen after that, Rev?
It's going to be Mickey Punisher time.
Well, maybe. I mean, it's about time he grimmed and grittied up. He's been light and airy for, 70-odd years. It's about time he started kicking some ass, right?
Disney buys properties. We know this. The question is, will they play with the property or will they continue to let it run itself?
Well, those are all very good questions. And the initial, less than 12 hours old indication is that they will be pretty much left in their own sandbox. And just the merchandising machine will be kicked into high gear.
No, I'm sure.
They'll try to get going on it. But,
dude, imagine how bad a Michael Eisner Marvel would be.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it. It'd be filled with, superheroes with no mothers and dumb dads, left to adventure on their own.
With singing rabbits.
With singing rabbits. Or crabs. Right, but Joe Q is going to take full advantage of their marketing and promotion scheme. But how do you think, what do you think Disney's actually going to, what are they going to do? Make a Hannah Montana comic? They're going to, variant covers on Pixar properties? And how are they going to pull the Pixar properties out of Boom Studios.
Well, Disney does not own Pixar. Pixar works with Disney, but they're a separate
Right.
entity. So Boom will probably continue with the Pixar. But you'll almost definitely have...
Almost certainly have.
You'll almost certainly have moments of Disney comics, Carl Barks retros, things like that. Wow.
You think they'll fold in Disney properties into new licenses?
I would assume so. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you can combine the licenses like that without losing money, Marvel can do a Disney comic now without paying for it, and Disney can have a comic out there and control it.
Right.
It's a win-win.
But you know their insane need for controlling everything they're attached to.
Disney?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, back in the day, Disney owned, what was it, Vestron Video?
Yeah.
They were putting out adult films, and not in a porn sense, but adult marketed. Disney is willing to make money. You know, they're not going to necessarily associate the Disney property with every aspect of Marvel.
Yeah. Can't see that happening.
Now, my major question is, what will this do to the Max line?
That is a damn good question, because they don't like being attached to any kind of controversy at all. And if the general public, particularly people like Reverend Wildman, who for God's sake couldn't even leave Bloom County alone, I mean, if they find out that the Punisher is doing the kind of things the Punisher does and still being published by a Disney-owned company, and who's going to go apeshit over Disney?
But Disney has a cash cow in Marvel. I mean, you know, there is a lot of tapped potential, but there's certainly untapped potential. There's a lot of movies coming up with big money attached to them. You have the Spider-Man franchise,
which they may or may not get back before the next decade is out, because that contract is with Sony, ironclad.
Yeah, but their marketing of Spider-Man, Sony can make all the movies they want, but Disney still owns all the Spider-Man rights in terms of marketing their character. They can't sell movie Spider-Man, but they can spell the wazoo out of Spider-Man.
You know how many? $4 billion, dude.
$4 billion is
$4 billion.
An insane amount of money.
The people with Marvel stock get $30 a share for it, plus 0.756 shares of Disney stock.
Didn't you almost buy Marvel stock at one point?
I was close. If I had just a couple of more $100, I'd have gotten a few. That'd have been great at this point, because, you know, $30 a share? Yeah. 50, 100 shares? Not too shabby.
Yeah.
And then split it with some Disney stock? That can't hurt. So, yeah, that's incredibly huge news. Nobody knows where this is going to go. The Disney people are all saying we're going to leave them alone for the most part, and we're just going to make money with it, and you know, that's about as far as that goes. I mean, I'll leave all these articles with you so you can get caught up on it, but it's a bit of a shocker, and I wouldn't even have known it till the afternoon if it wasn't for my boss.
Really?
Yeah.
Julio throws a rare Marvel-appointed appearance.
Well, he popped me up in the middle of the morning, and I'm like, I ain't got time to read that. I'm fixing computers. 2 hours later, what do you know? That's just is mind-boggling.
It's a big thing.
It's mind-boggling. So we got a couple of ideas. Let me see what you think of these. All right, so cut about
edit
9:20. Gonna jump right into a pile with that shocker out of the way, because I'm pretty flabbergasted. Got a huge stack. We're definitely not doing it all today. We'll get some highlights going. Justice League Cry for Justice 2. Robinson, Gassioli.
Supergirl.
There was Supergirl in here? Yeah, okay. I'm down with Supergirl. But the revelation that, well, is it truly a revelation that Hal really didn't like Bruce at all?
Well, I like to think so.
You like to think it's a revelation?
Yeah, I mean...
Or you like to think that, you know, Hal actually didn't mind him?
I like to... It's a nice move to have personality clashes.
Well, yeah.
You know, obviously not all these guys could be best friends. That wasn't even... The revelation that Oliver was a little scared of Batman was the number one for me. Because that's more realistic. You know, here I am a superhero, I fight supervillains, but Batman makes me uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, realistically speaking, Ollie is a flaming liberal.
True.
And Bruce isn't even anywhere close to that. He's not even a neocon. He is a hardliner.
To be fair, they've always avoided politics with Batman because they don't want to alienate. You know, Batman is above or below such things depending on your definition of them.
Right.
You know, we know that Hawkman is a staunch Republican. And, Ollie's a staunch Democrat. But Batman doesn't seem, you know, Bruce Wayne plays a role of that, but Batman's actual politics is never an issue in that sense.
No, they don't make it an issue, but there are aspects, like we saw in Kingdom Come. He was absolutely running a police state right there, and Ollie was well justified in both joining him and opposing him at the same time. But that's an Elseworld story, so who knows what
Kingdom
they can do
Come
with that.
and Dark Knight Returns are both very famous for, you know, showing this totalitarian Batman, but that is not the Batman in the sense.
No, yeah, you're right. For the most part, he's never really bothered getting into any kind of political arena of any sort. But that was a nice little scene. Just a one page talking on the rooftop. I dug it. But then Congarilla and
Starman Blue.
Congarilla likes gin and vermouth martinis. You think that really works?
I really have no time whatsoever for Congarilla.
And yet you're the big monkey boy.
I love monkeys. I have a monkey puppet that my girlfriend bought me that I'm very fond of. I have monkey with fez candles. I love the word monkey, but Congarilla is the kind of character that is supposed to disappear over time. Certain characters reappear when you don't want, like Crypto. Take your flying super dog and go.
Yeah, but Crypto's being treated in a very fun light right now with Palmiotti and Connor over in Wednesday Comics.
True, but at the same time,
it's Crypto.
If I missed out on a super flying dog, I really didn't miss out.
So, who's next? Who is that? Is that the Atom and Jay Garrick?
Yep.
Yeah. They go to the ruined Flash Museum and have several pages of very heady conversation that bored the living shit out of me for the most part.
So you're not fiending this book so far?
Not just yet. I mean, I'm waiting for
the art is very
something
impressive.
to happen. Oh, yes, it is. It absolutely is. I'm not going to debate that at all. But, you know, I'd like some action. Let's have them go out there and do some shit. Rather, you know, it's it's only the second issue of 7, so they kind of have time to gather forces and establish philosophical points for their actions.
Right.
But I want a little more jump in and go here. You know?
It's slow moving, but it's supposed to be a storyline that's going to have a major impact. So you have to build it slowly.
No, I can see that, but I'm still trying to figure out where in the hell it fits in with everything. At which point, I mean, is this just before Blackest Night? Is this far after Blackest Night? It's confusing me about its continuity here. But if it's going to make an impact, hey, let's have an impact. Let's start cracking things up. But we see Kara at the end. She's going to play a major part, obviously, but bloody when? Yeah, well,
Issue 3, perhaps?
that's more likely. Moving on. Captain America Reborn number 2, opening up with yet another flashback, because that's what
they
Brubaker does, is open with flashbacks. And he's fighting the Master Man. Did you ever think you'd see that character again?
No.
And why?
Because I did not want to.
Because?
Because he's the Master Man.
Good action. It was nice to see Cap talking to FDR. You know he had to have at one point or another. I'm a big fan of FDR.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I like Teddy myself.
He was getting shit done. Well, you know, Teddy was a little more badass. He could actually charge up a hill when he had to. But are we ready? I mean, I'm ready. I want Cap back in his own body. No more of this soul unhinged in time routine. How are they going to get him back? I want him back. And are they going to spin Bucky off in his own thing? Put your head on, right?
No, I'm curious what to do with Bucky. You know, perhaps Bucky will be the new U.S. agent.
Ew, that's a bad idea. Lieutenant America would do just fine. You know they'll try that too, Lieutenant America.
Sergeant Connecticut.
Oh, as long as I get my Steve back, I'm fine.
No, it's time for Cap to come back, and the whole Lost in Time thing. We have Captain Face and Chest, the evil Nazi robot scientist. And what's his name?
Arnim Zola.
There you go.
And of course, at this point, halfway through the second book, we couldn't have waited much longer. Old Normie shows up, talks to Sin and Crossbones, and offers him a deal. What kind of deal is it? Who knows?
No, it's the book's moving well. I'm very curious. Brubaker's been doing very well with Cap. I'm excited to see what happens next.
Good. So am I. But how many times? How many times did I gotta add to the origin here? Is he going to be reborn in his own body? Because that would be kind of funky, like that Neil Gaiman Batman story.
There you go.
Reborn again and again and again, like some evangelical Gabor sister.
That's actually surgery. That's not real. So what do we got next?
Boom. Invincible Iron Man 16. Loving Fraction's work here. We finally find out that Whitney Frost is in fact a hideous beast, because you get just exactly enough of her face in there to know. And
good rule of thumb: if you're wearing a Doom mask, you're not attractive.
Yeah, well, it's because you're wearing a Doom. I mean, Doom. Doom, doom, doom.
He was hideously scarred, so he stuck a hot metal plate to his face.
Yeah, which was really fucking bright. And Norman just can't seem to reverse engineer that Stark tech, huh?
No, Norman's more of a geneticist. He's not,
It's too hardcore.
He's never been a machinist. Norman works with cells. He doesn't work with batteries.
So we find out that there's an extremist type situation going on with the rescue armor. And there's just enough energy to fuck with old Whitney Frost there. Which,
Little Pepper badass.
little Pepper badass. They get him free, and guess what? There's an explosion. And then, what's her face? Goddamn, who is it?
Who is it?
Maria Hill. Thinks she's about to get it back together, and then she has a little more post-traumatic stress disorder going there, and the Black Widow has to comfort her and put her back together. Black Widow finds a hard drive that old girl was sent on the mission to get. They have no idea how to decrypt it. Big fight at the end.
Shocking.
And Chinese hacker guy doesn't know what to do with it. Tony flies off. To be continued. It's very dense, this issue.
My thing is, I know that the storyline right now is epic, and there are so many things going on in the Marvel universe. I'd kind of like Iron Man back.
Well, I mean, it has been 16 issues. I mean, 9 parts just on him slowly losing his gourd.
Yep.
I mean, that's most of a year. There's epic, and then there's when is it going to end?
And we're somewhere in the middle right now.
And I'm ready for I'm ready for an ultimate issue where everything is changed or resolved. But I was about to say I'm ready for a climax, but that would have been a bad idea.
Yes, it would have.
And speaking of penultimate issues, Andy Diggle and Mr. Rainey's Tom Rainey's Hawkeye miniseries. We find out that old boy is not, in fact, as insane as we had hoped, because I would have just loved to have the guy just total wackadood out.
Yeah, he's partially insane.
He's just a minor wackadoo.
Because
it turns out it's just these hired guns dressed up in old bullseye outfits.
And who's pulling the trigger on those?
I mean, killing them, or who's in charge?
In charge.
Well,
Bullseye's father.
Yes.
From the Bullseye's Greatest Hit miniseries.
Which I didn't read.
Which I did.
Well, there you go. And, yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready for this one to be done. Mainly because I don't want to pay for it anymore.
It's been a fun read. Honestly, if you'd skipped this, you'd have lost nothing.
Absolutely nothing. But it was a nice little thing at the end there when they're finally about to pull his brain out, and he says, "Oh no, I've been doing just fine. I've been waiting for you to tip your hand, like a Bond villain."
The miniseries I want to see is the Bullseye versus Wolverine's son.
Bullseye versus Daken. Is there supposed to be one? Or
No,
is that
but
just something you want to see?
that's the Bullseye storyline I'm currently interested in.
Curious.
They've made it very clear they don't like each other. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's because they're both egomaniac nuthatches.
They kill people.
What are you going to do? Are you ready for Dark X-Men to be done? Because I am.
I don't enjoy the X-Men, and shockingly enough, it turns out I don't enjoy Dark X-Men.
You know, there really is, and say what you will, audience.
And God knows it.
Because you're allowed to, because, you know, fuck it, this is America, you can say what you want. Fight the power. Well, you can't whistle for shit, can you?
No, not at all.
Hi, how are you?
That was not that much better there, buddy.
Put your hat on right. There really is a reason that Cloak and Dagger have never been able to sustain their own series.
Dude, don't you remember the Strange Tales with Doctor Strange and Cloak and Dagger?
Yes, I do.
That was a phenomenal suck.
And I remember Marvel Comics Presents when they couldn't get anywhere in that either. You know, they were given, 6-8 pages every single week, and they made no progress. That was pretty poor. So,
do you ever find that Cloak and Dagger just remind you of Obsidian and Jade?
Yeah, a little bit.
And neither of those are particularly good storylines.
No, they really aren't. Tandy Bowen and, Rufus McDaniel, or whatever the fuck his name is, they never held anything for me. They were experimented on, and they were, drug slaves or whatever the fuck they were. And now they go against, well, for a long time there, they were, going up against drug dealers exclusively with their ultimate powers of frightening people terribly.
Or stabbing them with light swords to make them feel better about themselves.
Yes, that purified them from their drug addiction. Although, could that be a more custom-made fucking power for the story?
Cloak and Dagger are suck puppets.
Yeah, pretty much. And honestly, Jay Lee... oh no, that was just a cover artist.
No, I love Jay Lee's art, man. Go back to Hellstrike or
Hellshock.
Hellshock, you're absolutely right. What the hell is Hellstrike?
I have no idea what that could have been.
Well, it was
it
something.
Sounds like an Image book from like 93.
Hellshock was a great read.
Which, was an Image book. Strangely
that
enough.
That you hated.
It never came out. It came out and I'm like, ooh, Jay Lee. And that was one of those, I like Jay Lee because I'm supposed to like Jay Lee. I've never actually seen any Jay Lee before. And just so you know, kids, we're watching The Punisher. And the amazingly hot wife of the villain is about to get naked. And, I think we're going to hit pause here and wait for a few minutes. No, we're totally not doing that.
You freak.
Leonard Mark shows a bit of promise here and there in certain panels, and then there's panels that I just can't feature. But then there's the second story, which makes even less sense. Mark Bernardin, Adam Freeman, art by Michael Lacombe, who's obviously a Frenchman.
Or French Canadian.
Il est French Canadien. Oui, all that shit. And I don't even know what the point of this story was. Who did he even pick up? This story is that forgettable to me.
It's a backup, dude. How many great backup stories have you ever read?
4.
Lies. The old Brave and Bold with Nemesis in the backups.
Come on, I have 5,587 comics. There must have been 4 backup stories that were acceptable.
Well, you got a ton of Brave and Bolds for me, and Nemesis was in most of them, and you didn't look that happy about it.
And a story with Decan, who thinks he's being badass, and Norman just doesn't give a shit.
No, the whole origin of the
bored.
Dark X-Men does nothing for me. The Dark X-Men storyline does nothing for me. The fact that they have Sunspot fighting him when he's in the middle of the horrible New Mutants book that you stopped buying, which I appreciate.
Because it was Duque.
Nothing in the Dark X-Men is blowing me away, and it's actually damaging the joy of having the Dark Avengers, which is a book that I didn't even want to like and liked.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass, isn't it? When you're thinking that, one book is going to be totally not worthwhile, and then you just dig the hell out of it.
Yeah.
That's irritating. It's like, I got to spend money on something I thought I was going to hate? Fuck!
But
everybody's hit that.
Absolutely no time for Dark X-Men thus far.
But, I'm a sucker, so I'll finish it out. It's only one more.
It is what you do.
It's only one more, and I get my discount.
True.
Put your hat on right.
I'm just doing this to get you to say that. You know that, right?
But kids, if there's any of our fans on there who put on their baseball hat sideways, I don't ever want to meet or hear from you. Because there's the flip chapeau arrogance of youth, and then there's just fucking stupidity.
Oh, man.
Wear your hats right. Pull up your fucking pants.
Wear a belt. Use decent socks. And have shoes that match. A public service announcement from the Mean Geeks. All right, what do we got next?
We got New Avengers 55. The Avengers are on the run until they can be sure who's on their side. Spider-Man, Captain America, Luke Cage, Ronan, Mockingbird, Spider-Woman, and Miss Marvel are using Captain America's hideout in Brooklyn as their safe house. However, Norman Osborn, the new political and media darling, is now running Hammer. So...
Are you reading?
I am. After Norman and the Hood's crime syndicate stage a surprise attack on the New Avengers, Clint Barton, a.k.a. Ronan, finally took matters into his own hands and went on national television to out Osborn as the former villain called the Green Goblin, which has been happening for like 4 issues now. So that recap, as dramatic as it was largely pointless.
Aren't they all?
Yeah, well. Now, see, that's something that irritates me. We keep hearing things like, every comic is somebody's first comic. Right? You've heard that.
No.
And you've heard pundits and essayists and journalists always spout that thing about there's a lot of people that won't get in the comics because they've been around too long. Well, I'm thinking, do these people not have friends in comics? Are they standing alone by themselves and deciding whether or not they should get into comics? Because it doesn't take a lot to get caught up on what's going on in comics.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I see where you're going, but here's my thing. You've definitely in the past heard about a book that's hot or popular and bought one in the middle of a storyline, or picked up an older Avengers or something.
And I've said, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
But then I went and figured it out, or I talked to somebody.
Well, that's
or
partially
bought back
true.
Issues.
You've there's a couple storylines that where you have no clue and didn't bother to follow up on.
Well, those were obviously inferior storylines. A recap would not made some of them storylines any damn better.
Well, recaps generally don't.
So,
but if you are a first time, because you're forgetting the key difference is that here you are somebody who buys comics on a regular basis, loves them, and will follow a book he doesn't like for 3 to 4 issues to make sure he doesn't like it. But if you were to buy one comic for the first time,
yeah,
and it was, say, Dark X-Men or Dark Avengers,
that would be a tremendous mistake.
And that's the point they're making, is that if you... Sure, there are books you can pick up, read one, get an idea. Spider-Man is particularly good for that, even while there are continuing storylines.
Yeah.
It tends to be a 1 to 2 issue arc for most of the stories. Because it's a character that appeals to younger kids.
Yeah.
Some of the Batman books have made a point of doing that in the past.
Yeah. They've tried... Until recent years, they've tried to keep Batman with the shorter arcs that you didn't have to think about or deal with. You just knew that Croc was a villain. You just knew he was a bad guy. and that was it.
Yeah, but if you were a 7-year-old kid buying a comic for the first time and you picked up Dark Avengers,
you would need some help.
You would seriously consider never buying a comic again.
Well, you would need some help, but you wouldn't be in a vacuum. You know, you wouldn't be where I was when I was 14 in 1985 and got my first book.
Which was?
I mean, you wouldn't have needed the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which I was incredibly lucky enough to actually have on the stands and say, who the fuck is this character? Oh, next month the new Hotmu comes out and it's going to have him in it. I'll wait. But that was tremendous luck. But let's
also take that. You're a different thinker. For your average child coming in, it doesn't matter who the character is. It's about the story. Like, if you read a book featuring, let's say, Tarantula.
All right.
Does it matter to you what Tarantula's back history is if the story's decent? No. But if you're caught in the middle of a giant, convoluted storyline, and even great storylines, like if you bought X-Men for the first time during the Mutant Massacre...
All right, good luck to you on that one.
But it was well enough done that you might be like, oh my god, I don't quite understand this, but I might need to check the next one out. And there were no recaps.
Right.
It was, catch up or die, motherfucker.
But that's my point. Catch up or die. Who gives a shit? Look it up. You got Wikipedia, you got Newsarama, you got...
There are far more convoluted books out there. That was a rarity back then.
Yeah. That's very accurate. So, yeah, leaving us in New Avengers 55. A nice little digression there. So, they're fighting in the Hellfire Club a week ago because, it's a Bendis book, and that's how he opens things up, just like Brubaker. Huge fight. Whitney fucking Frost again. Trying to figure out what's going on with the Hood and the Wrecker. Now, really, in New Avengers 55, I think the shining part really was Peter going to town on Clint's whole let's just kill Norman routine.
Clint is the worst badass ever, first off.
And why is he the worst badass ever?
Let's just kill him. Yeah, take your bow and arrow.
Well, he doesn't use a bow and arrow anymore.
Now he's using shit he can work even less well. The fact of the matter is just simply, Hawkeye was a jackass at his best.
But I would have expected at least Bucky to chime in. He was silent the whole time until they found out Chemistro, or whatever. I'm telling you,
pronunciation guide. Blah, blah, guide. Blah. I like Chemistro. That's more fun to me. It sounds more like a bad restaurant.
I go with Chemistro too, but somebody's gonna say Chemistro, and it's like the Magneto debate that went on for so long.
Magneto, let's call the whole thing off.
But Peter is just so adamant about this. We're not killing anybody. We're good guys. We could be heroic, or we could kill somebody. We could represent the greater good, or we could kill somebody. And I understand a sense of justice rather than retribution. I understand that there's a line between them. It's not necessarily a fine line. And somehow it's not also a clear line. It's neither fine nor clear. It's big and blurry. But I mean, this guy, everybody else has got really good points. He's had 5,000 chances to get this shit right. And now he's in charge of the biggest paramilitary organization on the goddamn planet. Right? How much more abuse of authority does this guy need to do? How many more people does this guy have to kill? I mean, it parallels Batman and Joker.
Very similar. But to me, the real underlying point of this is the difference in writing of the iconic character and the newer character.
The iconic
being Spider-Man versus, say, Bucky. Everybody knows when this conversation comes up, how Spider-Man's going to react. The Spider-Man dynamic,
it's a good point,
because he's a defined character. Like, you're never going to have a Spider-Man like, I want to kill you, and I'm going to do it. You might have a Spider-Man, I want to kill you, and I'm horribly conflicted, and throw up my cookie dinner. But he's never going to do it because he is Spider-Man, and we all know that. Right. We know Cat. We know Wolverine. We don't know Bucky. Ed Brubaker knows Bucky.
Yes, he does.
But no one else does, so Bucky doesn't talk in these kind of situations. And therein lies the difference, is the comfort level. You can have the Clint Barton Spider-Man dynamic because you know both those characters. Clint Barton will be like, let's just kill him, because Clint Barton is a jackass. And Spider-Man would say, no, we can't do that, even though it's really tempting, because I'm conflicted and it would be bad, because Spider-Man is a martyr.
But I'm still kind of surprised, though. I mean, Bucky should have come out on one side anyway. I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. It's not about character at that point. It's about comfort of writing. And if you're uncomfortable writing for Bucky, because the Avengers have mostly used Bucky as Captain America light. They haven't really delved in. They have not delved into. It's not Cap, it's Bucky in the Avengers. That's something that Cap is doing.
Yes, they've kept it over there in his own book.
So they just have Captain America Jr.
Which is just such a silly phrase coming out the mouth. I'm telling you, it's Second Lieutenant Cap.
There you go, yeah.
You know? But, no, I mean...
I wonder if Cap comes back, if he'll be Major America. Like, maybe they'll move him up.
Major America. Commodore America.
General USA!
Oh, now, looking at the Punisher again, and Rebecca Romijn has always been a favorite of mine when wearing a tank top.
Are you done with the Hood storyline for a while at this point in the Avengers?
Yeah, I'm ready for the Hood to get killed or turned into a Toad or put back in fucking jail or something.
Or even just to stop showing up for a couple of issues.
Yeah. I mean, what are they going to do? Put an entire hardback out with the fucking Hood storyline? I mean, it's been 55 issues. He's had at least 12 of them. And now he's been hanging around for a long time.
Did you ever read the Hood miniseries when it came out?
Nah, I didn't bother with it.
Well, part of that was my fault because, of course, Kyle Hotz and the artist had done that horrific book that I made you read.
Which one?
Oh, God, I'm not going to remember the name. It was the thing with the serial killer and the team that was hunting him. The guy turned the spa into a depression chamber.
What the fuck are you talking about? How long ago was this?
A few years now.
I have no idea what you're saying to me.
I'm gonna have to. The fact that I can't remember the name is really gonna bother me, and I'll have to bring it up at the next episode. But I made you read that, and you despised it.
I probably did. Now, who is this Harrow guy? Is he the Fixer?
Which one?
This guy who reverse engineered the power drainer.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not positive on that, but I think so.
Alright. Well, that was a bit of a trip. And in 56, things go really up the goddamn wall. And
the book is still a great read, but I just like the Hood storyline to disappear for a while and move on to the next level.
Yep.
There's so many things happening in the Avengers, and we're caught up in this Hood gangster war. And so far, the Hood has recruited basically the retards of supervillaindom.
Too true.
I mean, all 5 of the Wrecking Crew, Chemistro. I believe I saw the Manticore. I mean, yeah, come on.
Oh yeah, he is in there somewhere. I mean, yeah, come on.
Crossfire, the dude that used to fight Hawkeye in the miniseries.
Yeah.
Because Oddball wasn't available.
And in 56, you're not going to be happy with how they get through most of the issue.
Oh, good.
Now, the thing is, again with the goddamn previews, I don't know either of these guys. Greg Hurwitz or Jerome Opeña.
If you did, they probably wouldn't be writing backups.
Yeah. Well, this is a preview, not strictly a backup.
Oh, which one are they doing?
Vengeance of Moon Knight. How many times do these guys have to try and get Moon Knight moving and fail miserably?
Well, to be fair, and let's be wholeheartedly honest, you hate Moon Knight.
I've never read a compelling Moon Knight story.
When I sold my collection to you, you got a bunch of the Sienkiewicz Moon Knights, which I used to love. And then Stephen Platt had him in the 90s. You don't like the multi-personality, the all-white, the fact that he throws little moons. I don't know what it is, but you have never cared for Moon Knight. The fact that he was an Avenger pisses you off.
Well, maybe one day I'll read all those books you gave me, but it's going to be an effort, and I'm going to need to be really, really bored to do it.
And you're allowed, you know what?
And because everybody has their bag.
Yep. I mean, for a while, Ghost Rider was the most popular hero in comics.
Ugh.
And I loathe Ghost Rider, as do you.
It's insanity. So, they're rebooting the Ultimates now. They've turned it from Ultimates to Ultimate Avengers. And as a first issue, what do we think?
Well, I was a little thrown because I'm not fully up on the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah.
And last I saw Ultimate Fury, he had been captured during the Ultimate Supreme Power. I can't even say that with a straight face. So having him back was fun. It's a strong team. The Ultimate books is I like how they do them as miniseries because they've made them so dark that you can't maintain the book in a sense.
Yeah, I can see that. But now they got Ultimate Hawkeye.
They always had Ultimate Hawkeye.
Did they?
Yeah, remember the Ultimate Secret 6 where Hawkeye shot Kraven in the leg?
Yeah. You're right.
Ultimate Hawkeye was the first step to move from the science geek random hero to the more military-based team that was a huge plot point in the whole Ultimates.
Were you happy to see Tony drinking again?
Well,
surrounded by hot girls?
Tony the Playboy is more fun than anything else, let's face it.
Yeah, rather than, Tony the uptight, oh my god, my weapons are hurting people. Despite that one of the greatest Iron Man stories ever was, oh my god, my weapons are hurting people.
Armor Wars and Armor Wars 2, kids. Read them now.
They're rewriting that shit.
Armor Wars?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. I don't understand why. I'm not buying it because I don't care how good it ends up being. I do not want it, and I do not want it spoiling the original 2.
No.
Don't like the idea.
JR's art on Armor Wars 2 was ridiculous.
And now we got Ultimate Red Skull.
Yeah, very curious about that.
Very creepy. Tattooed iron crosses on his head.
No, I'm very intrigued by where they're going with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be getting the next one. I want to see what's going on here. So,
all in all, a decent read, but very much a build up to the next issue.
Oh yeah, basic shock and reveal at the end. And since we're a spoiler podcast, we're happy to say that the Skull tells him that he's Cap's son.
Ah.
Well, we're creeping up on time here.
What do we got?
We got 50 minutes. I don't like the art in the new Ultimate Spider-Man.
Who is the new artist?
La Fuente. Peter has, in fact, always been emo when you break it right down.
He
Put your
should
hat
look
on right.
emo.
Put your hat on right.
My hat is on right.
It's all cockeyed.
I'm going to throw this fucking hat at you in a second.
But now he looks like he belongs in an emo band. And I don't care how much that appeals to other teenagers.
He's got impulse hair.
Yeah, except Humberto Ramos was a lot more fun to look at. They got him working in a, Mickey D's knockoff. Which I suppose he had to do at some point, because web fluid ain't free.
Yeah, and plus he has to be miserable, and if there's an easier way to be miserable than working at fast food places...
We ain't found it yet.
Yeah.
But, Bendis' dialogue is as good as ever. But it seems like they're making him even younger than ever before. And, I just turned very old. And I really don't... if I got to read teenagers, I would just assume they were the basic kind of teenager I was, rather than this, new century, long, unkept hair guy. I don't even know how to describe it. It irritates me so much.
So you'd rather read more books about douchebags?
No, I like the other Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, that was a great read, and
where he was well kept. He knew what a haircut was. He didn't look like he was about to write some bad poetry.
Admittedly, as much as manga has done good things for comics, occasionally the manga influence on comic books can be a little
bit too
painful,
far. Yes,
particularly with haircuts.
Yes, drives me up the wall.
Retsu.
But if Bendis can keep the same kind of awesome sauce drizzled on this book as he did with the other Ultimate Spider-Man, then I'll keep going and I'll forget about the fucking
Absolutely. Because I read the first two graphics of Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm like, this is for 7-year-olds. And then on a whim, picked up a couple later ones, read them, and was like, oh my god.
This
book
is the shit.
Amazing.
Yeah. Was it 3, 5, and 9?
Yeah, particularly the Carnage one, 3.
Yes. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the hell out of that. Now we get back to a far more basic and traditional Spider-Man book.
Miserable and trying hard to get laid.
Which is, far more in line with somebody my age.
There you go.
Miserable and trying to get laid.
The joys of being Spider-Man.
Amazing 602. Goodness gracious. The shit never ends for old boy, does it? He is just a figure of abuse.
Now, is this after he got a cookie and the fridge was locked? Which
yes.
was one of the dumbest freaking...
Maybe this is the one where the fridge is locked.
Now, how did
No,
you feel
this is after the fridge was locked.
How do you feel about the whole J. Jonah Mayer?
I don't mind it. I mean, the Bugle went down, got bought out,
and Urich is now the editor, right?
And Urich is the editor of Frontline now, which is a whole different paper.
Really?
Yep. So he's got his place. What were they going to do with JJJ? They had to step him up and increase his interest in his ability to abuse Peter, or he was just going to become completely irrelevant as a character.
I suppose that's true.
Right? Well, that's what I think. You know, the fact that somebody, he's got a budget to work with, and people are taking him to task on that budget. Like, you authorized 6 more Spider Slayers? Come on, we ain't got that dough. I find that amusing.
You just love saying Spider Slayer.
Well, say it 5 times fast.
No.
Spider Slayer, Spider Slayer, Spider Slayer, Spider Slayer, Spider Slayer. Well, at least you can't wear it wrong now. But when did the Chameleon get this creepy?
When he started being his cousin Craven a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Well, the Chameleon's always been kind of creepy by nature. I don't remember him dissolving people into goo before.
Yeah, well, that's a trip. Now, look at this. Who is that? Do you know who that is? You remember who that is?
Who?
He might not have the same name.
Slide. SLYDE, right?
Yeah. At first I thought
slippery supervillain.
At first I thought it was Blue Streak, but that was a Cap guy from the Scourge days.
No, this guy is covered in friggin' polymers, whereas Blue Streak was on fucking roller skates.
Oh.
I've got a brand of brand new roller skates. You got a brand new key.
Yes, kids, there was a point where roller skates actually attached to your current shoes, and they were ratcheted into place with a key. Can you imagine that? Yeah, we're fucking old for knowing that.
And of course, those were the good old days when you had superheroes like Team America, the high-flying motorcycle riding.
Well, Marvel was awful scattershot in the early 80s and late 70s.
Oh, God help us.
I mean, US 1?
Yeah, you loved US 1.
I hated the very idea that there was a trucker superhero offended me.
And you loved him even more when he showed up in She-Hulk with his alien trucking partner.
I totally did not like that. Yeah, you guys got to look this stuff up, because you think we're fucking around, and we just ain't. The Mandroids actually got hired by New York Police Department? Really?
Well, they don't get a lot of work anymore.
Well, not anymore, no. I mean, holy crap. But, yeah. Big fights, Mandroids. Parker being the official photographer of City Hall now.
I did like how he was shown the door, in a sense, that it's not the same job. This is a politician, you work for him, you respect him, you don't sarcastically make fun like you did when Jonah was in charge of the paper.
Right.
You know, it was an adult conversation, which Spider-Man doesn't really get enough of.
He really doesn't. So Mary Jane tracks down Harry. Harry and his cornrows.
Yeah, what was that about?
The cornrows?
Yeah, those are unfortunately, a given. But why? Harry is hanging out sweeping things,
Well, I mean, he doesn't have Norman's resources or interest anymore. He's obviously
he's Goblinita-less.
Yeah, he has no Goblinita. Nice throwback from 9 episodes ago.
Goblinita will always be in my heart of hearts.
But he's got to live on his own now. There's no more trust fund. and he certainly doesn't want any position that old Normie would give him. So, I mean, what did he ever learn? I mean, he went to college, but nobody said what his degree was.
I believe it was banging.
Well, yeah, that was probably it. So, what's he got left but sweeping up Starbucks? Hey, come on. I mean, did he even finish school?
Damn you, Goblinita!
He's not like JJJ's son, who was a bloody astronaut, for crying out loud.
And a werewolf.
And then became a werewolf, yes. You kids, you gotta look this stuff up.
Alien
we can't
werewolf.
make this thing. We're not bright enough to make this shit up.
He was never actually bitten by a werewolf, kids. He found a gem that turned him into a werewolf that allowed him to fight a space battle with swords to save an alien culture. It's the best thing ever. I read it, I'm like, wow, fuck acid, I'm covered.
I want to see this finish off with the chameleon, because I'm ready to go. It seems like it could be a really interesting turn of events.
Totally enjoying Spider-Man right now.
But you know what I'm really gonna dig?
What's that?
Models Inc.
What?
Models Inc.
Is that a real thing?
Let's take a look. There's the ad right there.
I thought that was a gag.
Oh no, this is real.
It's a weekly book? What is it?
It's a book. It's a comic book. Models Inc.
Oh dear God.
If you remember, they had, and here's another one you're never going to believe, kids, but remember they had Millie the model?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Archie style.
Kids, I'm watching Punisher, and I just saw a 5-inch knife being pulled out of this big Russian guy's shoulder, covered with blood, and now placed into Frank Castle's chest.
That's played by Kevin Nash, at professional wrestler.
Oh, I was such a big fan of this one. Not so much the second, but this one worked.
I've never seen this one, so
No?
Nope.
You got to start from scratch with the sound up.
Yeah, the all mute is not really giving up a lot. All right, so kids, we're done, but we still have a few.
No, we got one last one. Well, technically two, one story. And Kurt Cabo, I love you to death, but you need to get more of this shit. Whose favorite movie? Every American's favorite movie. You can't be an American if you don't like Westerns, and you can't like Westerns if you don't like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Do we think that these first two issues are getting close to the spirit?
Earlier on, a few months ago, you brought me the first issue of The Man with No Name.
Right.
Which we never saw again.
Right.
And that was moving nicely. This is moving nicely as well, but without the resolution of either of them, it's still very up in the air. Western comics are difficult.
At best.
I mean, God knows I'm a huge Jonah Hex fan, because he deserves one.
He's got to have a few. The movie's coming out next year.
I find that terrifying.
Ain't it? But it's got Megan Fox as a hooker. And there's really not much more on the planet I can ask for.
Oh my God. No, I did enjoy these. Apparently they did do a graphic for the whole first Man with No Name storyline.
Oh, I didn't spot that.
So I'll have to pick that up.
Yeah. I think I'm ready for more of this.
No, it was fun. It's always been a fun character. It translates well to the comic book format because it's violent.
It is. It's violent and taciturn and. Did you really expect this kind of thing out of Chuck Dixon?
Chuck Dixon's always written a very action-oriented comic, so it wasn't shocking, but it would not have been my first choice to write it, but it worked out.
Yep. You're absolutely correct. So, let's get our props and promos out of the way here.
Absolutely.
All right. So, as always, we extend our greatest thanks to our purveyor, hookup, and more often than not, pusher, Cabo, over at Kurt's Comics.
Remember,
in Connecticut, it's Kurt's. Ron Garney's now a new friend on Facebook. We're very happy about that. We'll have to talk to him sometime. You can find us on iTunes, Podcast Alley, Feedburner, and the Comics Podcast Network, which is actually doing wonders for us, and we appreciate being included on that. And of course our own site at www.themeangeek.com. Please mail us at any time with any comment, particularly negative ones, because we'll have fun with those, at themeanergeek@gmail.com.
And remember, if you make a request, we'll continue to ignore it while we beg for more requests.
We're not ignoring it. We've acknowledged it fully. We have not acted upon it. I know this is 22, and we said we'd have 22, but a $4 billion deal kind of got in the way, and we had to talk about that.
Blasphemy.
So, we'll take care of you, John. Don't you worry about it. Get your buddies involved, man. We'll send them comics too if they just say something. Other than that, Dick Jedi and Reverend Mad Duck signing off. Spoil your dinner. Eat shit and die.
Fuck off, fuckers.